This may be the most complete collection of forefront history in existence.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
Yep. It's gonna go right back in that little steel filing cabinet.
It's
kind of a shame we don't have catalogs anymore.
I know. It's just, this is the first year. Usually we make a lookbook, but I think this is the first year where, it's like we were redoing the website, and that was like the big push, and that's like what the focus is nowadays. It's like, I think it would be cool if there was still a capacity for that kind of physical medium within the brand. It is cool. We are making a zine for the Sinister for like the first 100 pairs. We're making like a physical little zine that just has some words from Stinius about the process of prototyping, some photos from like his whole season of riding on it.
Cool.
So I think that'll be a cool little thing to just include with people who order that ski. So
yeah, I thought it'd be cool to have like a book that's like the width of a ski, and you just put it in with the shrink wrap.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just kind of like is a little like keepsake.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. And for his aesthetic, it's so, it's like he's of the generation where it's like, fortunately, it's like the physical print, because it's a rarity, is now like becoming more valued.
Totally.
It's all coming back around. But no, it's really awesome to see. But
I don't know. Print kind of like represents cost.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is like substantial.
Yeah.
So much so that they printed it. You're like, oh, like, oh, look at these photos from like skiing, whatever, and it's like, dude, you should print that photo, so it doesn't just get lost in your photo library.
Yeah.
Like I was just looking through photos not long ago for this doc, and oh my gosh, like I discovered some photos. I was like, why are these not printed, framed on the wall?
Yeah.
Like this stuff's framed for the most part because either it ran in a magazine, or in the era that it came out, print was just customary.
Yeah.
So here I had this like printed piece of like this little time capsule from like hanging on the glacier or whatever.
Yeah. It's great to have the foresight.
Totally. There's been so many more moments since then, but it all lives digitally. So it doesn't end up on the wall.
Yeah.
And so you don't end up being reminded of that moment, which is like peak living experience.
Exactly. And experiencing it in the physical form.
Yeah. So
during the project that just came out of yours, there's so much great archival footage of just forefront from when it started, from everything. I feel like there's like the shot of, hitting that rail in Tahoe is like part of the first ad and everything. And it was really cool to just see, just the history through the video medium of kind of how it all came together. I had no idea it started with you just like grabbing a piece of, what kind of wood was it for the first?
Yeah, so I was building a house just down the street, living in Truckee, trying to make ends meet in the summertime.
Yeah.
And I kind of came to this conclusion, like, I'm going to start a ski brand.
Yeah.
And no shade on my sponsor at the time. They just weren't nearly as motivated as I was.
Yeah.
And feeling like urgent timing, like, let's get this thing done. So, only real performance material that I had, history with was like maple from skateboarding. So I had a buddy who was making snowboards, and he was like, yeah, go get some wood and just build the core, and then maybe we can see if we can laminate it on my press in the garage, my buddy Jay. So I went and got this piece of maple, and the hardwood section at the hardware store, after hours we had a power planer on the job site. And I had a ski most recently designed with Fisher that I really liked the flex of. I was curious about like what would the ski be like if it was wider. Like no more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Just like, holy cow, like this is a sick park ski. What if it was like 2 centimeters wider? And so I literally just like went and cut the tip and tail off of that ski and just screwed it to a fence post, just like a 4x4 fence post. And then I screwed a piece of pine, like a softer, like 1x6 on top of it, and ran it through the planer, and that like takes the bulge out of the fence post, and then you dismantle it and you screw the pine back to the fence post, and then I took that new maple and I put it on top of the pine, so now it's got like a dip in the center, and I ran that through the planer, and then that's how I got the 3 millimeter tip and tail heights and the centimeter thick waist.
Wow.
And that was the flex. I mean, I've never skied those skis. I don't know if left and right have the same flexural properties. I mean, I was working with, pretty janky tools at the time, but it was just proof of concept. And I think when you have a vision, you need to materialize, all the thoughts and all the things you see through your mind's eye.
Yeah.
And this was just like a proof point that, like, okay, like, how difficult is it to make a pair of skis? Like, I had no experience doing it, but I saw an opportunity to bring a brand to market. In college, I worked at a snowboard shop, and I was a skater, so that was cool. I rubbed my fingerprints off gripping people's boards so that I could then go out and skate myself every night in Minneapolis, and that was rad. But I sold snowboards for, like, I don't know, 3 years.
Yeah, and the snowboard industry at that point was like booming with kind of new brands coming on the market, and so you kind of had that inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, pro models, we had like a Burton Custom, and we had a couple other like mainstream models, but then like everything else was tied to a rider.
Yeah.
And so, coming into, a level of like proficient skiing, dare I say pro skiing, I was like, this model doesn't exist in the ski world. Like, we're all just skiing on like just these generic skis made by these like heritage race brands from Europe. Why don't we have athletes more involved?
That's so true. I never really thought about early days of pro models, how they're really, I mean, like, obviously you have the 1080s and like K2 enemies and stuff, but Forefront really was kind of at the start of, I mean, came on the scene with pro models right off the jump. So
I mean, and there was no reason to hide behind it. That was our value proposition. We were like, cool, like, Eric Jorlson designed this ski specifically for his needs.
Yeah,
you should ski it and like see if you can emulate his turn.
Yeah,
not many can, but like it does put you in the position of like trying. And I think that like familiarity of like watching a skier on the screen and then actually skiing on their ski, like, you start to kind of like morph into that skier profile, and you can get a closer connection with the skier as a result. And I think that's the magic ingredient to pro models, is like, this is Devin Walsh's board.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool that you can ride the exact same board that they're on, and that it's designed specific to their needs. And if you apply yourself, you can get the same level of performance that they demand for themselves, for you.
Exactly. And, I think right out of the gate, coming out with a pro model establishes that whole by skiers, for skiers mentality that the brand has carried up until this present day too. Mm-hmm. So it is cool to see that through line of the brand from the very start till, the brand as you know it today. And obviously the brand's gone through a lot of changes, but what is, is kind of a loaded, broad question, but answer it however you feel. I guess, like, what are kind of some of the similarities and differences with how you see Forefront within the ski industry and its kind of place in the industry? Because when it started, you found there was this need and demand you had as a professional skier, mm-hmm. To kind of make this product that you were searching for, and so you had to make it yourself, and you created a real brand and culture around Forefront. And I think today that still rings true, but from your perspective as the person that started the brand, how do you see Forefront within its place in the industry today?
Yeah. I mean, pro models, for lack of a better term, mm-hmm. I mean, we were adventurous, with our skiing, and I mean, yeah, we had some endorsements, but like, we all had jobs, for the most part. So it wasn't like, yo, I'm pro AF, like, check it out, like, I got a shoe deal or whatever. It was signature skis, and we didn't hide behind it, because that's what we were, and we were authentically like true to the core of the mission, which was to like hand the keys over to the skiers. The industry has had a long history of like really high level engineering and sophisticated technologies that have advance in a lot of other industries that started in the ski industry. Surprisingly, the ski industry was the birthplace for a lot of really modern industrial material techniques. And the shape of skis just hadn't really evolved at the same rate of the engineering. And so we needed to like disconnect that as the driving force in ski design and hand the reins over to the athletes who are actually putting in the work to develop, the techniques and develop the skills. So it was super easy for us to just own the signature ski or pro model, concept as our like our debut and as our differentiator. We knew none of the big brands would want to like take on the liability.
Yeah, of letting a skier design a ski. They're like, we have professionals who like this is what they do. Like, why would you want to?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could just run off a long list of athletes' names who were wild.
Yeah.
And were continuously on the podium, if not winning events and closing films and all that, but they were a total loose cannon, like liability. Like you never knew what they were going to do, and so I could see how big companies would have a hard time hitching onto that brand.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Actually.
So as a small brand, we were like, dude, just be you. Like whatever, we're down. Like we're going to sell a couple hundred pairs of skis. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so we felt like we kind of had it to ourselves for a long time because we didn't have that tape, and we were able to just be like super authentic with who we were. And we didn't have a huge financial basis either. So we went after athletes in particular who showed a mutual level of interest and curiosity. Yeah. Obviously Eric Jorlefson is the complete package for Forefront. He has signature ski style, an incredible level of skiing ability, but he also has this like super sophisticated mindset around product design and really thoughtful about developing new ways to look at product that performs in the alpine environment different than a lot of other people, and he shows the evolution of those ideas through the ways in which his gear is performing under his feet. The way his boots walk uphill, the way his skis carve downhill. Like you see all the little fine tuning that he's constantly tinkering on as it emulates through his skiing, and like we really followed through with that. And the MSP was an early model just to really debut a 90 plus waisted twin tip.
Yeah. At
the time that just didn't exist in the market. We came up with a little bit longer side cut radius so that it was a little bit more friendly for all mountain. Mm-hmm. But when that ski debuted, 105 was a fat ski.
Yeah.
So a 90 waist.
That was a wide park ski at the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean East Coast. I remember calling shops on the East Coast, and they were like, "Do you have anything skinnier?" And I'm like, "No, I mean this is all we got right now." But like I'm skiing it, and it skis just fine,
Yeah.
And now I've gotten to appreciate really firm conditions and the maneuverability of narrower skis. But I feel like we were the first to kind of like set a flag in the ground that like 90 is like your new norm.
Yeah, which is looking back on is super like at the time was progressive, and in hindsight,
I would say
the willingness to explore with ski shapes and widths against what kind of the norm was for the market at the time.
Yeah, everything was 80, and I would say that like hundreds become like the modern version of the historical 90.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we've probably started to table 110 as being a little bit too wide for all around, but there's a lot of playfulness and maneuverability found in the 10 105 range too. So anyhow, that was kind of where we started, and it was like, cool, I need to build out from here. And Steele Spence was curious about what we were doing. Hey Steele, you want to come on and build like a slope ski? Yeah. Nicholas Karlstrom was curious. He was a pipe athlete. I'm like, hey, do you want to come in and build a pipe ski? Obviously we had Eric, Vinny Dorian, backcountry. He was curious how he could take his skill set as a super dominant park skier into the backcountry, and he's just compact little dude, just stomped everything. So we put a 105 under his feet, came out with the VCT, mm-hmm. and that ran for a long time as like our backcountry twin tip. Wiley Miller got a ski too, similarly a little bit wider than the VCT shortly thereafter, and And so everybody had a way to kind of contribute something unique, their own special kind of design that catered to either the skiing that they were into or this type of skiing they wanted to get into.
Yeah.
I was probably, if I think about it, I was probably most intrigued by the ideas that enabled something to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like it was cool to build a ski to match the skier persona, the skier style, the skier interests. But I think it was more interesting to build a ski for the skier they wanted to become.
Yeah.
And I think that really came through in fruition with David Wise. You know, I was, early season, went to Copper, and, you know, my first time really kind of watching like the debut of World Cup halfpipe skiing. And I was like, wow, like this is a really legit event. And like these athletes are, you know, internationally, recruited, and like there's like coaches now, and like all the coaches are my friends.
Yeah.
We all used to have segments in Level 1 movies.
Yeah. What year was this when that World Cup event? When did David Wise first kind of come on to the...
It was like 11, 12
Yeah.
time frame. You know, I can't pinpoint exactly the year, but yeah, I mean it was a 12, 13. It was probably the 11-12 season that I went to Copper, and funny enough, I was there to shoot photos of Laurent Favre.
Oh yeah.
Who, you know, from La Cluzat,
exactly. Legendary.
like really sick style, big powerful style, insane switch fives, and zero spins, and you know, again, like all these athletes that were in movies with like Level 1 and whatnot were all taking on roles within their nations. Ski federations, because now we have this emerging free skiing sport that's come online that's going to debut, you know, at least pipe in Sochi. So now all of a sudden we've got, you know, former pro skiers standing at the top of pipe or park, you know, teaching the next generation through federal funding. So, you know, I rolled in and I got some park pics of Laurent or whatever, and then I needed a ride to the airport, so I hopped in the car with Andy Woods, who, you know, debuted the 1260 at the U.S. Open in Vail and won, I think, which is so sick. And I was like, yo, Andy, like, I need to get to the airport. He's like, yeah, hop in. So we're cruising. He's like the head coach of like the U.S. ski halfpipe team. And I'm like, you got any athletes that do you have any athletes that need like a sponsor or whatever? Because like, I think this is kind of like a train that I need to catch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was like, actually, like David Wise is curious about potentially switching ski brands. He's been, you know, with his brand for a long time. They sponsored him as a young kid, and he's just really like kind of come into his like man self, and he's overpowering these skis, to be quite honest. And he's like, I think he has some really like incredible potential, but he just doesn't feel adequately supported.
He doesn't have the tools for the job.
And because he was like a Grom pro form like type of thing, like they didn't necessarily like recruit him. He was just always there and like slowly chipping away at becoming better and more elite. So I mean, that was whatever, like before Christmas in December, you know, one of those early Copper events, and like it was right around New Year's Eve, and we already had a ski come off the press that was original, like came out of some original tooling of the STL, and Steele Spence's first park ski. And you know, we just answered to David's concerns with his current skis, like, hey, these skis aren't doing this or they're not doing that. And I'm like, okay, I think we have a solution with some of these existing molds. Let me call up Bob, our engineer, Bob Boyce, and let's get a core profile that speaks to your needs in terms of power. And he came into town, and we had 3 skis, and he took the one he liked the best. And we sat down at the corner store in Park City, and we wrote a contract that day. And it was like, well, what about if I win the X Games? And I'm like,
yeah, you're like,
I'm all whatever, dude.
One step at a time.
I'm all like, I don't know, we'll like give you 10 grand or something. I'm like, you've never won X Games. We never have even like, you know, had a shot at it. So I mean, that sounds like an incredible accomplishment. So let's do that. And then it was like, okay, well, like, how do we like extend the contract to also be, you know, relevant to, you know, the Olympics and like World Cup and things that are like leading into the big show? And I'm like, whatever like they give you as far as like a bonus or like whatever you win, we'll just match it.
Yeah.
So like if X Games gives you like 20 grand, we'll just give you 20 grand on top. How's that sound? Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I'm all sweet, dude. Like the base salary was like the base salary or retainer or whatever you want to call it was like we could do it. We could fund it, you know? It was the winning bonus that was like unreal. It could have like, you know, bankrupt the company, but I'm like I like this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's asking all the right questions.
That's the right question. He had a good big picture perspective on where his career was about to go.
And here we had these skis with like, you know, packing tape stitched top sheets, you know, this like trying to make things work. So he had a ski to test, and luckily enough, he liked a pair that he chose to take it with him, and he went to the Dew Tour, I don't know, Mount Snow or something, and he qualified really well, but he broke the skis.
No.
And so he ended up having to compete on his old brand of skis.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, dude, like, what's the deal? And he's like, oh, dude, don't worry about the skis breaking. In qualifying, I was on a different level. Like, it was incredible. These skis are so good. How long would it take to make another pair?
The performance got him
where
he wanted
and I'm
to
like,
be.
I'm like, okay, like, I skied those skis. I'm like, I'm not a good enough skier to ski those skis. Like, I fell skiing those skis. They're so powerful. And here he is like, oh yeah, no, it's playful. It's all. I'm like, dude, this guy is an animal. So we hurried up and made some more skis. So like, whatever. So it was like, just before Christmas, I get the ride to the airport. New Year's, David flies in to test skis at Park City. We write a contract. Middle of January, 2 weeks later, we get him a pair of skis that he can then, you know, take to Winter X.
Yeah.
And I'm over in Europe at ISPO, and I come in one morning, you know, foggy, of course, and people start like congratulating me. I'm all, oh yeah, cool, dude. Yeah, like, yeah, David got like 6th or whatever at Detour. I'm like, he wasn't on our skis, but you know, he was pretty sick, right? And the news came out that Dave was skiing on Forefront or whatever. And it wasn't until a buddy of mine came up and was like, yo, like, how's it feel to win X? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, David won X Games last night. And I was all, holy shit, you kidding me? Because I was like in the fog.
Yeah.
And I'm in Europe, and I'm like, I totally like lost track that like Winter X Games was happening and all that stuff. And like the team back in the office in Salt Lake was doing a great job managing all of his needs. But yeah, dude, he won, and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what is that gonna cost us?
Yeah, you're like, if I recall from the corner store, I might have thrown out some promises.
Shit, dude. Like, this contract is gonna be mean. And and then at that point in time, like, he just went on. So, long story short, like, that was really like the one like example that obviously, you know, evolved into winning an Olympic gold medal. That we designed a ski for a skier who had a vision for the skier they wanted to become, if they had the right skis. And I just felt like that was such a powerful experience. I ended up writing a little kid's book about the whole thing because it revealed some self-doubt, because I didn't necessarily know what we were going for. And I was really reliant on this trust between he telling me what he needed, because I couldn't really insert my opinion on it. You know, like, these were really special skis. And I wasn't sure where we were going to go with it, but it ended up taking us places that I would have never imagined we could have gotten to as a brand. And, you know, did the bankroll like come as a result? Not really. Like, yeah, like we kept rocking for sure. But had we not had that experience, I don't know what would have happened to Forefront. You know, like that put us up on a pedestal on the global platform. You know, where everybody saw the brand top step of every podium in all of the competitions for like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And it was like, wow, dude, we got so much credibility doing that.
It's such validation in the ethos of how the brand was started and how it is today, even of like, give the rider, you know, let the rider dictate what needs to happen with the product.
Yeah. And
go from there. You know, it's so cool to hear that story because, and you know, just from the starts of like from the MSP at the start to David Wise's ski, even to today designing, you know, Stinia Skoshift's new ski, like, I think having the riders dictate the ski and what goes to market is representative of the demand of the skis at the time, you know? Like that's what Stinius' skis, like, you know, we haven't made you know, haven't had a powder ski with camber in a long time, and
Yeah.
you know, that was something that was a void that needed to be filled in the forefront space, and we did that, and like I've skied that ski and it's great, and I think it's gonna really turn some heads, and it already is making a bit of a buzz, and it's like having the riders really, you know, call the shots with what needs to happen, and leaning into that is just something that's rang true through the brand since the start. And it's really cool to just hear stories like that and see those similarities occurring today with the brand as well.
Yeah, I'm really humbled at the approach that the current administration took in appeasing Stinius's needs.
Yeah.
Because it's very tried and true to the history of the brand.
Yeah.
And I wasn't around to like insist that like, hey, like here's an athlete, here's a tiger, grab its tail.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we haven't seen the best of Stinius yet because he's ill-equipped.
Yeah.
If we actually make him the ski he wants, like who knows what he could become.
Yeah.
And I feel like having an opportunity to test that prototype this last season and get to know Stinius, and yeah, he's an extraordinarily talented athlete.
He really
is. And what he can do on skis is pretty remarkable. And now that he has the skis designed specific to his interests, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do with that ski and further proof point the model, which I feel is still as relevant today in 2025 as it was in 2002 when we started. And it's like, no, dude, just let the athletes, you know. A great friend of mine, Pete Minode, once wrote me a note and said, Matt, you know, there's never been a good decision made by a non-skier in the ski industry. And I really have taken that sentimentally, because, you know, we may not be accredited experts in the field of engineering or materials or logistics or whatever, but, you know, at the deep down, like, we're making decisions that impact skiing, and we are skiers ourselves. And so how big of a miss can it really be?
Yeah.
And when you get it right, holy shit, is it right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think we're onto something with Stinius' ski, and I think we still have opportunity to continue to execute against this model of like leaving the skiers in the driving, you know, to drive the designs.
And I think there's still such a space for that nowadays too, just with, you know, so many large ski brands are being, you know, their own, there's parent companies and there's all this kind of private investment. And I think people now, it's like almost coming full circle, where people now are starting to resonate with the independent brands even more as they watch changes to big brands. You know, there's changes in Volcom and like Quicksilver getting out of the snow space, and like all these brands that, you know, people love, but it's like, then you kind of remember there's someone up top in the big house calling the shots, and they're like, oh man, like how authentic is that brand really, like on, you know, face value. And so I think people are really coming around to these notion of these independent brands, like, you know, being able to make these decisions without people saying, oh, I don't know if that's, you know, a good idea.
Yeah, I would agree that I think today, like, an independent ski brand is like, has never been more differentiated on in result of like that being the point itself, is that we are not part of a corporate entity that has shareholder values at the forefront of the decision-making process. You know, we have the best day of the season yet ahead, and we want to make the decision to maximize that moment in time and share that with our community. And so I think independent brands are wildly differentiated more today than they ever have been, because the big brands have become like somewhat like egregiously overly corporate, and these independent brands have retained fluidity, flexibility, control, and ear to the ground, you know, in designing season. I think that's a big reason why I wanted to kind of get back involved with the brand, you know, is like, what a cool opportunity to jump back into something that's been preserved, modernized with a new crew, and making moves that are still validating the very points that we were setting out to make in our debut over 20 years ago.
When you left the brand in 2017, 2018, did you think that the brand would change? What was your kind of perception at the time? Did you think it was gonna stray away from kind of these values that, you know, fortunately we have still rang true to this day? But what was did you have a thought process about what you thought might happen to the brand when you kind of let it go?
I mean, I didn't think this would be possible,
Yeah.
honestly. And like, I tried to like kind of, I didn't do it intentionally, but looking back at my actions and my ambitions at the time, I personally like set out to self-sabotage the brand. Because I was so desperate to get out from underneath debt.
Mm-hmm.
I owed family members debt. I had a team of personnel that wasn't adequately paid for their value.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't making very much money running it, and I was just like, I just need everybody to get sorted out here, you know. Luckily, nobody got left high and dry
Mm-hmm.
through the process. But, you know, I was curious in selling the brand to Alon, who was making skis for us at the time. I'm like, Alon, you guys should take this brand. You got this global distribution footprint. You got this state-of-the-art factory. Let our athletes, like, show you the ways in terms of design and whatnot. You guys apply your engineering prowess, plug it into your distro channels, and this thing's going to be 5 times what it is in a year's time.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we're already on the edge of, like, making money.
Yeah.
So if you grew this thing 5x and you controlled the cost, this thing would be a cash cow.
Yeah.
And how rad would that be? I tried to sell it to Dynafit, you know, with Hoji.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted him on their skis so bad. And I'm like, well, you're not going to get Eric on your skis. But
you can get him on Forefront skis.
but you could acquire Forefront, and then like we could all play together.
Yeah.
You know, because he has ideas about boots and bindings, and like this could be a really nice harmonious thing, and maybe that, you know, cannibalizes the park side of things,
Mm-hmm.
but potentially it leans into some more advanced touring stuff. That didn't fly. I tried to sell it to Fisher, ironically, you know, and that was a really emotional journey because, you know, I originally left them because of their unwillingness to evolve the line at the time, around the 2002 Olympics here in Salt Lake. So, you know, fair enough. I went on my own way, and then it was kind of cool to come back to them and explore the opportunity of potentially them, you know, buying into it. So like those types of opportunities that I was exploring would have very well like compromised the very thing that I think has allowed Forefront to retain its unique and differentiated point of view in the market.
Yeah.
We would have just been another ski brand had any of those transactions gone through.
Yeah.
And the athletes wouldn't be as involved as they are today. Some of these models wouldn't even exist, and we'd have a bunch of other models like frontside skis and whatnot that just do not scream Forefront. They just scream market fit. Mm-hmm. And I think there's plenty of brands out there that are achieving the market fit. And so honestly, I just didn't think this would even become a possibility.
Yeah.
And you know, luck be had working with Jay and transitioning the business more direct to consumer. And then working with new owners, sideline watching the administrative team focus on the core business, you know, continuing to drive, you know, the athlete vision through the designs, continue marketing with the athletes, showing up at all the right events, and keeping the thing lean, you know, not trying to be a big company, which was some mistakes that I admit to making in the past because I just wanted Forefront to be the biggest thing in skiing. And in the end, I realized I don't want that. And I don't think the ski industry wants that either. It already has the biggest thing in skiing. And this provides a different pathway for a lot of people to look at skiing outside the box. And so I grew anxious to see how things were going. And luckily, throughout the course of my years on the sidelines, I kept an open dialogue with the owners. And they were always really respectful of maintaining the MSP and its relevancy to the history of the brand. Even though that model obviously took on a new geometry in 15, debuted in 16, it was still one of the longest standing, and maybe is the longest standing signature ski in the market.
I think it has to be.
And so it was cool that like they would at least continue to reach out, and of course I was like anxious to you know, contribute any way I could. And so, you know, opportunity came last fall where, you know, I had some free agency and I wanted to kind of distance myself from the desk job life, you know, and make no mistake, running a ski company, you spend a lot of time at the desk, you know. You could get to ski, and a lot of the activities in marketing and selling the business like the products in the business include skiing, but it's not always free skiing. And I wanted to start getting more time free skiing and start learning a little bit more about what it would be, what it would take to be a ski guide. And so I started pursuing that as a pathway, and I reached out to the owners. I said, you know what, I'm curious about, you know, Forefront, and this is kind of a direction I want to head down and just kind of scratch that itch. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm feeling pretty psyched about it, and I've got a lot of experience in the backcountry now, so I think there could be a pathway to this, you know, as a staying, lasting influence in my ski career to pursue. And so
yeah, it's awesome to see.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of like, wow.
Totally. I mean, from my perspective as someone that grew up around ski culture so much, and, you know, obviously knowing who you are and seeing the brand evolve into what it is, and then becoming involved as a rider and now as a team manager and bring you back into the fold, I think it's just the coolest thing that it can happen this organically, and have it make so much sense with your experience, and have it, you know, so rarely would somebody as involved as you were with Forefront come back into the fold and have it be like a seamless transition like this, you know. And now that you're back involved, what gets you excited about Forefront moving into the future?
You know, from the sidelines, I had a lot of time to kind of observe how the brand was showing up in the market, and I gelled with a lot of it. You know, I stayed a subscriber to all the marketing, obviously following it on social, and then just like, every so often checking in with the team. Maintained really good relations with Bob Boyce throughout all the years of being on the sidelines. You know,
who is Bob Boyce again, for anyone who's
sure. Yeah, so Bob is a lifetime skier, most importantly. He skis out of the Northwest in the Cascades. He's based out of Seattle, has a cabin in he has kind of like a ski shop now in kind of by the Crystal Mountain area. And yeah, he's just an absolute freak for skiing. And I started working with him to engineer our first course, like non-fence post plane course.
Yeah, the first real ones.
And you know, Bob had a long history designing tooling for water sports and then snow sports, and so he became an incredible asset to the company in its early years, just being able to utilize all of that technical engineering skill set, and also like just catting out different ski shapes and stuff, and just like figuring out the formulas that made Forefront unique. And so, you know, on the sidelines looking at how everything's evolving and staying in tune, like in touch with Bob. It was also with Eric and Thane. That's how it's going, and little things about how manufacturing's changing, or you know, who's designing graphics, or events that they're going to show up at and stuff like that. So I was just, you know, I guess I got to a point where like I became overly anxious. You know what I mean? I couldn't chill anymore. I wanted to get, you know, back on the field in a way that honored the current team and all the work that had, you know, been put down since I had left. I just wanted to add value, you know. It wasn't as though I felt I had a way to do anything better than what was being done. I just saw areas of opportunity where I could add and just make it more than what it was. And I think most importantly for me, in doing so, was to like continue to honor the development of the MSP.
Yeah.
You know, this is an all mountain category product that, you know, now has 3 different widths. Thanks to Jason Leventhal, we have a 91, I think. He was so insistent. Like, that is definitely Jason's like fingerprint on the brand for the few years that he and I worked together in evolving the line. He was really adamant, authentic to his East Coast roots, that we had a narrower version all mountain ski. And I was like, no, the 99's fine, you know. But we have 3 different widths of the MSP that I you know, I'm curious and anxious, and so that was like my first ask when I reunited with the brand in the fall last year, was like, hey, can you please send me a box of MSPs? I just need to get reacquainted with these skis. Some of them I haven't even skied yet, you know. And
like ever?
Yeah, I never skied the
Wow.
91.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
You
totally.
never skied your own pro.
Yeah.
Your own pro model.
But I was really familiar with the 99 and obviously the 107. But they had just started coming out of the Quebec factory, and so there was obviously a change in feel there. So I wanted to get my hands around that, and yeah, that was a super cool experience just to get reunited with the brand to start, focusing on that very ski that had bared my namesake for so many years. So definitely like scratching the itch in product development. As I have started to now like regain familiarity with the brand, I've been really impressed with the power of the skis. Last few years I've been skiing on a lot of backcountry skis, and I've been using those skis also inbounds, and they just lack a little bit of power and stability at higher speeds. And I find myself, ripping through moguls and high T-laps and whatnot, where I just don't have like the same amount of dampness in my backcountry skis as I have come to unite with the MSP line. So that's been a lot of fun, and also I feel like there's not only in advancing the MSP ski, but there's still a need to continue to evolve like the forefront feel. And for me, like I would like the brand to be able to perform uniquely with your eyes closed. Like you shouldn't have to know that they're forefronts to feel forefronts. And there's like a lot that can be evolved in the composition of the skis, different use of materials, slightly different algorithms in terms of like how we go about in building the stiffness profiles, that I think there's still quite a bit of opportunity in learning as well as in executing against, to try to continue to build kind of like, I wouldn't say like a proprietary feel, but like a signature feel. So there's some things obviously I want to do specific to the MSP model, selfishly, to make it the best possible all mountain ski, because it needs to be our best selling ski, because it's the largest category and most diverse type of skiing that model is designed to perform in. So I want to obviously sell more skis in all of Eric's shapes combined. we may have like an indirect rivalry a little bit in that regard. I mean, it's kind of like fun and stuff, but I think we have a lot more potential to grow the MSP line and build on its heritage, and then and through that process also start to share out some of the learnings as we can apply more widespread throughout the line. And thankfully, like a lot of the entire collection is now built under one roof. And so we don't have to try to mimic or mirror other facilities' technologies. When I left the brand, we had skis being built in Quebec, as well as skis being built in Slovenia, and skis being built in Salt Lake City at the White Room.
3 different.
And so if we made a change here and we wanted to make that a feel, a signature feel, then we would have to try to also mimic how to implement those changes elsewhere. And that immediately comes at the compromise of manufacturing techniques and processes that may or may not be available. So now that we're under one roof in Quebec, in a great facility there, we have the opportunity to lean more heavily into getting that kind of feel. So that's kind of where my mindset's at with respect to product development. Of course, I've skied a lot of Eric shapes, and they're outstanding skis. I ski better on his skis than I have on anything else I've ever skied. And I just want to continue to like honor the work that's been done, and continue to evolve where I can. And super psyched on Stinius. Like, we have this new model in a Sinister that's debuting a new composition. It has a Titanal plate that's spanning just the underfoot area. We've never had a ski like that in the line. The MSP was kind of the only real Titanal reinforced composition ski in the lineup, and now we have a hybrid Titanal layup that I think is really cool, especially with a nod towards a more freestyle oriented performance, which is like something you don't necessarily see that often. And I think that's a great place for Forefront to be, in terms of like cutting edge design and like integrating some of that race heritage construction with playfulness freestyle skiing. So psyched on that. I think there's a beautiful history with the brand that started in Truckee, California, but most notably here in Salt Lake City. And I don't see myself living anywhere else. And I think when people think of Salt Lake City, they need to think about Forefront skis. We have a lot of we have a very dense community of skiers here in Salt Lake, and I think when people come and visit, they see how many forefront skis are on the snow. And for me, that's like a super prideful thing. I would always say, like, on Friday, like, to everybody at the shop, like, hey, make sure you go out and ski this weekend, because, like, that's going to fill your cup.
Yeah.
Come Monday, if you're on the mountain and you're riding lifts with people who are on forefront and they're telling you about how much fun they're having, man, is this a great place to work on a Monday, you know? But if you distance yourself from that consumer experience, like, you just see it for what it is, and it's just a job.
Yeah.
But when you can really see the emotion and the elated, like, smiles and grins coming out of skiers who are just having the best day of the year, and they're on forefront and they don't even know who you are, you're just another skier on forefront as well. Those are some of the biggest paychecks I've ever cashed. So I want to continue to reinforce forefront here in the Wasatch, and just own our home.
Yeah, it's such a, like you said, it's such a special place with such a rich ski culture and so many skiers. And I think, myself being based out of Salt Lake as well, it's really cool to see the Forefront brand continue to evolve and grow. And you see everyone who is on forefronts are so fired up, and then you see everybody else who isn't on forefronts, and it is always like there is always this connection that can be shared with other people that haven't gotten the brand yet, and it's so cool to talk to people and educate people about where we come from, like everything we've just talked about, of like why the brand started and how we're still upholding all those same values that are intrinsic to the people that love skiing the most. I think there's a lot to resonate with the brand, especially out here where there's so many skiers, and everyone I know has moved out here or is from here, loves to ski. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, not many people are from here.
I know.
We moved here for the skiing, and I've skied a lot of different places, and like this place holds its own.
Yeah.
And we have great snow, we have great terrain, we have a lot of variety in terrain. We could use more parks, in my opinion, but I get it. Like, that'll come. I think it's just maybe in a wall right now, so we'll just ski in the streets until then.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyhow, I think owning Salt Lake City, kind of reinforcing Salt Lake as our home, is another area where I think I can add a lot of value. Just because the team, because we're so lean, has really dispersed, and it'd be cool just to kind of be, holding the flag proud here in Salt Lake. And I'm in my 40s, and I come from an era where, like, you spot another skier on the mountain with twin tips, and you dart over there to go ski with them. And that was a uniting characteristic amongst skiers early on. And obviously we've evolved beyond that now. Most skiers in the lift line are on some form of twin tip ski, but then there's the brand, and the brand unites skiers still, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to in terms of community.
Yeah.
And I've started to really value community as I've gotten in more middle-aged than ever before. We I guess as we're younger, we're meeting so many new people all the time that we don't necessarily realize how strong of a network we are supported by. And it's not necessarily something that can be measured against social media and stuff like that. It's like you can go up on the mountain and run into like 5 people that are all very like-minded and have an incredible experience that then unites you for years to come because of that physical connection. Exactly. And so I'm really excited to invest more into the community. See if I can reestablish some retail partnerships where we can help diminish some of the scarcity in terms of being able to like improve the accessibility of the brand. Just like, hey, I'm curious about that brand, like, cool, go here. And it's like right around the corner. It's not like down the street, left, right, it's just right over there. You can go try a pair. And just try to increase the accessibility, because if you want to be known as a Wasatch brand, you need to have skis readily available in the Wasatch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great partners that have played a role in the past with the brand, and I'm excited to continue to look at reestablishing some of those partnerships.
Absolutely. Sure. And can we, tying on to the kind of Salt Lake based thing, can we expect to see some events and demos this year as well with Forefront on Hill and see out there? People can be able to have a chance to kind of connect on with an on-hill experience this year?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I see a lot of really interesting skis in the market, and I kind of hold them, you know, for what they're worth on paper until I have a chance to ski them. And so I couldn't expect a consumer to feel any different about being introduced to a new product. So demos are going to be, you know, something that's going to happen as we are able to execute against. You know, they're often in coordination with resort partners that have, you know, time allowed on their calendars, space allowed at their base villages, whatever constraints they may have to welcome us. But yeah, obviously I want to get some on-snow demos. I love being under the tent, turning screws and taking laps with people, introducing them to the brand for the first time, or like me, being reunited to the brand after some time away. And then also working with some partners in the area for sure. We're going to get skis back with Todd at 7, which is a tuning institution here in Salt Lake City, 7 skis. And so we're going to have a demo fleet down there with Todd, so anybody can pop into town, grab skis, and head to whichever resort they're going to ski at. And so that'll be a nice centrally located resource. And then we can draw skis out of Todd's fleet for when we do demos or whatever. If we have like some tests or stuff, we'll have skis available in the area ready to roll. And Todd's such a great tuner that we know that the skis are going to be ripping when we get them from him. So yeah, I'd love to get some skis up at Pow Mile, where I'll be backcountry guiding this year as well. Just going to keep leaning on some of these resort partners to get the brand back in the store and get them on skiers' feet, you know. And that I know we'll get there. I'm super anxious to do it all in 1 year, but it may take a couple. You know. But
I hear that's something I hear a lot as well now, that, you know, from people, from emails and elsewhere, is just the excitement for the brand, and it not being as accessible as another brand in the shop. You know, it's I think if we can find a good way, you know, we are actively working on ways to capitalize on that. And I think as we continue to grow and expand and within our means, and being able to be the forefront brand that has been around since 2002, I think we're, you know, the sky's the limit once we get more skis on people's feet.
Totally. I mean, I think it's more of a marketing hat mission that I'm wearing right now, and it's like I just want to get people on the skis. Like if I swing over to the sales hat, you know, it's like, hey, dude, we've got a money back guarantee. Like if you don't like them, just send them back. You know, we'll get you we'll get you the skis you want. But you know, sometimes that's not enough. And if you're in the area and you want to ski on some award-winning skis from Forefront, like they should be readily available to you. And so I want to see that come through. And so yeah, product development and like reduce you know, the scarcity and lean more heavily with the accessibility of finding the product in the markets where we want to be known to be found. And then ultimately, like, yeah, I think, you know, if these walls could talk, like Van Valen, you know, lip sliding this rail over my shoulder, I mean, it's just, there's so many moments. And we've got all these catalogs that, you know, have materialized year after year, the collection that sometimes I can't even recall what's on some of these pages as a healthy reminder. But, you know, I want to still be able to share. You know, I'm a father of a 14-year-old, and he's probably a little bit over my long-winded, you know, retrospective stories and stuff of when I was a kid, which we all grew bored of listening to our parents say them. But I feel like I still have some stories that people haven't heard about the early years of Forefront. And kind of like the mission that we felt a calling, you know, to go for. And so I want to work with the brand to materialize a platform where we can share those stories openly. I know Hoji's got a lot of funny stories that talk about stuff that, you know, definitely represent a lot of adversity and headwinds, that, you know, you would just be like, man, you are so bullish to like continue knowing that like you had all those chips stacked against you. But like there's just so many fun little stories and moments that have connected all the dots, and like I see a continuous lineage of the brand, even though I've been on the sidelines. The way that we impressed skiers while I was running it desperately, keeping it true to its, its core ethos, it has continued to to validate the very reason why we started it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's still relevant today, and to see that lineage be consistent, it's an honor to come back into the fold and help reinforce it with some less known stories, some different point of views on product, and ultimately open arms for the community to get re-engaged, if not engaged for the first time, to check it out. So
yeah,
I'm fired up.
Well, on behalf of everyone who's clicked into a pair of Forefronts and myself and everyone in the company, thanks for sticking to your guns and what you believed in from day one at the company, because if it wasn't for instilling that ethos within the brand, who knows where it would be today. So
I know it.
Stoked to have you back, and stoked for the future.
Yeah, man, good to be here. I'm glad to strap on some Forefronts this season.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.